The men and women who play a key role in ensuring air safety in the skies over the United States are adjusting to new rules. The changes come after another air traffic controller fell asleep on the job. It's the seventh incident disclosed by aviation officials this year. The immediate changes for controllers involve scheduling. They must now have a minimum of 9 hours off between shifts, an hour longer than the current minimum. Among other restrictions, controllers cannot work an unscheduled midnight shift following a day off. These scheduling restrictions highlight a common problem for workers around the world who deal with overnight shifts or floating work schedules. Earlier, I spoke with sleep expert Dr. Russell Rosenberg about the issue of demanding schedules and fatigue.
You have to shift your own sort of biological, or what we call circadian rhythm, to make that happen, but hardly anybody wants to go through what it takes to do that.
When I did the night shift for 2 years, that's what I did. I stopped sleeping at night, but it was very lonely and depressing. Not a good way to do it. I wanted to bring in a tweet that I got from a viewer who is asking, how many hours of sleep are enough for a person to adequately perform their duties? This is coming to us from Radi in Bulgaria.
Well, when you work on the night shift, you really do need to try to get that 7 to 8 hours of sleep that you need. It's just much harder to get it all at one time in the morning. Some people will take it in naps as well. Ideally, you consolidate your sleep, but you need 7 hours to feel fully alert. But it's not just the amount of sleep, it's the fact that your biologic rhythm is such that you want to sleep. Your brain wants to sleep when it's dark out. That makes it particularly hard.
Here's another tweet I got from Joaquin in the United States who's asking, is being sleep deprived comparable to being under the influence?
It turns out it absolutely is. There have been research to show that when you miss an entire night of sleep, it's almost like you are drunk, or you have the same type of facilities as you did if you had several drinks that would be considered to be actually in this country against the law. So indeed, our performance, our ability to react, our ability to steer out of things is very much impaired when you are sleep deprived.
And so how many hours of sleep do you need?
Well, there are some people who need as short as 5 and some who need as much as 9. So there's a lot of variability, but the average is about 7.5 hours of good quality sleep to feel fully alert and rested and at peak performance afterwards.
What about studies that show that in some countries, people are actually going to bed and instead of trying to read a book, they are on Twitter, they're on Facebook? Is that a good thing to do?
Well, there are a couple of studies. There's a British study, and then the National Sleep Foundation here in the U.S. has also looked at this. And in that hour before bed, there are many millions of people who are spending too much time in front of the bright computer screen, which suppresses a hormone called melatonin, which signals the brain for sleep. So it's not a good idea to be so stimulated by both bright light as well as some of those social things that go on right before bedtime.
What else should we do or don't do before bedtime so we get some good sleep?
Well, a good wind down routine is important. Not drinking alcoholic beverages, which can actually make some people drowsy but wakes them up more. Eliminating caffeine or reducing caffeine intake, and putting your worries aside on a little piece of paper or writing them down to get that work of worry out of the nighttime. But it's really important that if despite your best efforts you just can't get to sleep, it's time to see your family doctor or even a sleep medicine specialist.
And are there drugs which can help people? Is it a good thing to actually be taking drugs to sleep?
Well, in my own practice with clinical sleep medicine, we find that the newer sleeping pills are much safer than the old ones. In fact, there are people who take them every night and do very well for long periods of time. Obviously, it's better if you don't have to take a medicine, but the consequences of not sleeping are actually worse than taking the drugs.